Good afternoon, Lake Erie Council. You're here with Jarrod Blundy, myself, the Firelands Camp Director. Happy to be here with you. Welcome to our Wolf Den meeting, and I've got two special guests, the Wolves, here with me. Hey, Jack. Hey, Brian. You want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm Jack. And I have my special hat on because it's a wolf meeting and we're wolves. So
I see that. Well, thanks for joining us today to do our Cubs Who Care Wolf Adventure today. We've also got Anthony Dwarning producing from behind the scenes. He's keeping an eye on our Facebook comments here this afternoon. So if anybody has any questions or wants to participate alongside us, we'd love to have your interaction. Anthony will pop in from time to time and give us some of those comments, and we'd love to answer any questions live on the air with you today.
You know I will, Jarrod.
Fantastic. Welcome. Well, Brian, Jack, our activities here today are all about learning about people with disabilities and doing some different activities to try and figure out what it's like to do things with maybe a little bit more challenge. So I'm glad you guys are here with us today. Anything you want to open up our meeting with?
no, I mean you have a great schedule here. It looks like a lot of fun. We're glad we get to come and have some fun here.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're here with us. Well, for our opening gathering activity, I'm going to share a sign language chart with you all, and it's actually the Scout Law in sign language. So we'll get that pulled up here. And we're going to learn 4 different points of the Scout Law today as our opening activity in sign language. We're going to learn helpful, friendly, kind, and cheerful. So that way when we do our opening ceremonies, we can use those sign language motions as part of the Scout Law. So let's try and learn these together. Okay, Jack? Okay, Brian?
Sure. Give it a try.
I believe it was the Tiger Den meeting that I learned how to spell my name, which I believe is like this, R-O and D. Something pretty close to that anyway. But let's learn helpful together. So if I'm looking at this chart, and hopefully you all can see along that with us, but helpful looks like you put your hand in the other hand with your thumb up, and you just go from side to side. Is that right?
That's what I saw.
All right. So we got helpful. Friendly. Friendly looks fun. We're not going to touch our faces because we're trying not to do that during this COVID-19 business, but we're going to keep our hands over like this, kind of like cat whiskers, and it looks like we do this for kind. Nice. Or no, so I guess that was friendly. So what's kind there? Looks like you roll our hands over another, and I've got my thumb down on top of my other fingers like this, and kind of like that, I think. Does that look right, Jack?
I think just do we do? Yeah. Oh, roll hands over here. Yeah.
Cool. And then our last one, cheerful. This one's a little bit different. So I have my right hand up here, up kind of by my neck, and my left hand is down here, and more or less it just goes in a circle like that. Cool. So Brian, Jack, when would somebody use sign language, and why would we be talking about that today?
I think it's pretty cool because if you watch our governor's message at 2:00, you'll get to see it live right in front of you. It's for people who can't hear what's going on, and maybe they can't see the closed captioning for some reason, or the TV doesn't have it, or they're actually there live and they can figure out what the governor is saying.
Yeah, so maybe somebody who has a little bit of trouble hearing, that's a way that they can still participate in the conversation, right?
Absolutely.
I'm glad you mentioned the closed captioning. You know, I actually turn those on myself because I have a little bit of trouble hearing what's going on from the TV sometimes. So it's nice to be able to catch the little bits of dialogue by turning that on and I don't miss anything.
Yep.
And my wife doesn't get mad at me when I have to turn the volume way up. All right. Well, let's go through those 4 again just real quick, and then we will do our opening here. So just to review for folks who are joining us, we're figuring out 4 points of the Scout Law to do while we do our opening ceremonies in sign language. So starting with helpful, which is with your thumb up on your fist in your hand, and you go from left to right. So that's helpful. We've got friendly, which is your hands in front of your face like this, and you kind of pull them out away from your face in a wavy motion. And then we've got kind, which is kind of like you're holding on to a stack of newspapers like this, but then you are rolling your hands over one another.
Traveling.
Yeah, like traveling. Yeah. And then cheerful, which is your hands open like this and kind of going in a circle. That's cheerful. All right. Are you guys ready to open this up?
Yep.
Great. Well, behind me, we've got an American flag. So our Wolf Scouts at home, if you can join me with your hand over your heart, or if you're in uniform, you can put your Scout sign with your 2 fingers up, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all. 2. All right. We'll go our Cub Scout sign. Jack, can you lead us in the Scout Oath?
Yes. The oath is, on my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout Law, and to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake,
and morally straight. 2. Awesome. And normally we would stand up for the law as well, but I'm going to come in a little bit closer so we can do our sign language bits together. And we'll say the Scout Law, but when we come to helpful, friendly, kind, and cheerful, we'll do those signs instead. You guys ready?
Let's give it a try.
A Scout is trustworthy,
Loyal,
helpful,
oh,
courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave,
clean, and reverent.
2. It was a little interesting going back and forth from talking and signing.
It's a challenge.
I always imagine that, as you mentioned before, the folks that are translating in sign language with a live speaker, that either they have to turn their inside voice off, inside their head, their inside voice off, or maybe they're kind of mouthing or speaking along with it. Otherwise, I feel like I'd get really confused. All right.
I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. So today is all about learning about people who may have certain disabilities, and that it might be difficult to do some things without the use of their hands or their fingers. And during this meeting, we're going to do 3 different activities wearing gloves in particular to give you guys an idea of some challenges that people face and have to overcome. We're also going to do a painting activity, simulating as though we had a vision impairment. And we're going to do one more that we're actually going to start with, learning about some invisible disabilities. So those of you who are following along at home, we'd love for you to do these activities. And if you'd like to complete your badge, you'll be able to follow along with the materials list in the description of this video and do those activities either along with us or on your own time at home. And once you've done those, we'll talk about this at the end. Then you'll be able to talk with your parent and your den leader about getting those requirements signed off for this adventure. Let's jump into this, okay? So let's talk about some invisible disabilities. Jack and Brian, if you want to take it away from there, and I'll get our activity signed up.
Sure, Jake, you want to start? And then I can read what we have here. Okay, I'll read. So we're going to introduce the idea of invisible disabilities, noting that many people have disabilities that others can't see. ADHD and autism spectrum disorders are 2 examples of invisible disabilities It causes people to think or feel things differently. Remind Scouts that people with invisible disabilities may have positive attributes and abilities that getting to know people as individuals is the only true way to get to know them. So we might know some people with autism in our Cub Pack or in our school or church, and they might act a little differently, react to things differently, interact with people differently, but we still get along with them, involve them in things. Sometimes you might have to adjust something that you're doing so that they don't get too excited about it or it's frightening. So there's a lot of different invisible disabilities. Somebody might not be able to hear. That's something you could see. Also, if somebody has a lot of pain or difficult walking long distances, so you might see somebody park in a parking spot for an accessible vehicle, and they might not look like they have a disability, but they still have a placard, and there might be something going on there that you actually can't see that makes them have to park closer because they can't walk long distances, or they have a heart problem and they run out of breath and they can't breathe real well in long distances, things like that. So one of the things that we're going to see in this cool experiment is we're going to talk about the spectrum. Anybody who knows what the spectrum means, it's just different ways that people have autism. So it might be very slight, and it might be very severe. And I think that's what we're going to see in this cup experiment. So people have different, on different stages of the spectrum for autism. So they may have a slight one where they might not want to be in groups of people, or they may have very severe autism where they can't be with groups of people and they cannot interact with them very well, or they have problems with noises or distractions. So there's a lot of things in the spectrum that could be different for people. Are you ready with your experiment?
Yeah, so I've taken my first cup here and I've put 1 spoonful of hot chocolate mix, and I'm kind of mixing it around. So this is going to be the first end of our spectrum here. So it might be that, as Brian mentioned, an invisible disability is one that you may not even be able to notice by looking at somebody. Some is a little more obvious, but for some disabilities like autism, it might be very slight on the spectrum. So I'm going to move this first one, so you guys can see, here down to the end. Now, as a disability becomes more severe, in this case, we're going to put 2 spoonfuls of hot chocolate mix in. Give it a little mix around. There we go. I'm sure you guys know what's coming next. Our third cup, we're going to put 3 spoonfuls in. You guys can do this with chocolate mix, or maybe Kool-Aid or Gatorade mix, or even food coloring if you just want to do 1 or 2 or 3 drops of food coloring. And those in the comments, if you guys can kind of think ahead about what our different cups mean here, with multiple different amounts of the mix in here. There's our 3. Go. And finally, 4 spoonfuls. Brian, you mentioned one thing that really caught my attention about something I hadn't considered as a disability, but certainly is debilitating to many people, even if it's not something that happens every day, but pain. And that can definitely be an invisible disability that can provide challenges for anybody that's trying to go about their day. Say if you have a migraine or a really bad headache, that's something that is hard to deal with. I'm thinking about when I'm when I was back in school and how hard it was to concentrate in class and do my schoolwork because I had a headache all day. It's not something that people could see, but it was a challenge that I had to overcome.
Yeah. Just like allergies too. People may have allergies to different things like peanuts or anything. Bread, certain meats, vegetables, dogs, cats, grass, pollen.
For sure. I think the term disability gets too caught up in those visible ones that you might see from day to day. But really, anybody can have a challenge that they have to overcome, and it all kind of depends on the severity and the activities that they participate in. All right. Well, do we have any comments there with us, Anthony? Anybody have something to share about our 4 cups?
The only thing that we have here is Bill is saying number 4 should be the darkest.
Phil's a smart guy. So if we go
we're missing marshmallows.
This would also be kind of cold hot chocolate if I'm being honest. So if we look at the cups here, this is what we started with: the 1 spoonful, then 2, then 3, then 4. You can see there's a little bit of extra mix on top. Phil is exactly correct. As we add more of the mix, it should become darker. And what does this mean? It's to show that there really is a spectrum when it comes to autism in particular, but many disabilities. And it's you can't just say this person has a disability. It's not like a light switch where you can flip on or flip off. Many people may have many people may have a small amount of autism and be very light on this scale from light to dark. Or some people may be further along the spectrum and face more challenges from day to day. But there's lots of space in between. It's not just an on or off sort of thing.
It's more like a dimmer switch.
Yeah, like a dimmer switch. Very good.
Hey, and Jarrod?
Yeah.
Bill is really Luke, so that shout out should be going to Luke, not Bill.
Oh, hi, Luke. I think Luke's participated with us before. Glad to have you back, and great job on that. Yes. All right. Well, that's our first activity done, talking about invisible disabilities and how they form on a spectrum. Let's move on to our next one. I'm pretty excited for this. In this next activity, we're going to try 3 different games or 3 different activities, but to simulate what it might be like for somebody who has a little bit of a challenge with their hands or fingers and dexterity or moving their fingers the way they want to. So what I've got here to simulate this disability is my elf glove and a full-on oven mitt. So as we just talked about, on a spectrum, I might have a little bit more, I might be able to use my fingers a little bit more in this glove, but a little bit less in my oven mitt. What do you got there, Brian?
I have some gloves. They light up, but the battery's dead, so can't light them up. But
That's still pretty cool.
And I got really big cards.
Ooh,
so it does make it a little easier.
What are we going to play here then, Brian?
I thought we were playing Go Fish.
Go Fish sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't played in a while, or maybe it's your first time playing, what you need to do is get a deck of cards with a friend or a family member there in your house and shuffle them up. See if I can do that with my gloves here. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to shuffle the way I normally do, so I'm going to learn a new way to do it and just take the cards on top and put them on bottom, and then take the cards in the middle, put them on top. And then each of us need to draw 5 cards from the top of our deck.
Oh boy. That's going to be a challenge with these gloves.
Yeah, it is. The ones with the fingers I can grab with, and then my one with the oven mitt is a little bit easier for holding. All right, we got 5 of them. Oh, and I've already got a match.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Grab 2 more.
Ooh, I have a match.
Nice.
I have 2.
This is definitely a game that you wolves can do at home. All you need is a deck of cards and a pair of gloves. All right, Jack, make sure he's not cheating for me.
Sure.
Brian and Jack, you got any 2s?
Nope, go fish.
Ah, okay.
We had a pair of 2s, but we got to set them down.
Oh, lucky. Your turn.
Do you have any 9s?
No 9s, go fish.
Oh.
Seems like those big cards make it a little bit easier for you.
It is a little bit easier. I can't imagine doing this with small cards. You might want to ask for that same card again.
Oh, yeah? And you got any 2s?
Oh, we just happened to pick one up.
Imagine that. All right.
There
thank
you go.
Very much.
All
And
right.
I think that means I get to go again. So let me see. You got any jacks?
Oh my gosh, he's wiping us out. Do you want this jack or do you want this jack?
That one looks like more fun.
Okay.
Very good. Want to go one more round?
All right. I have a draw 4 card, so.
What?
Oh wait, wrong game.
Wrong game. All right. You got any 4s?
No, I have no 4s. Go fish.
Go fish. All right.
Which we asked for, Jack.
Kings.
Oh, do you have any kings?
No kings. Go fish.
We are not doing good at this game. And it's hard to pick up one card. Oh, okay, it's 1.
Yeah, they're a little bit slippery. And we'll end with, you got any lucky number 7s?
Go fish.
That's my last card. So I'm thinking about this game, and it was, you're right, very difficult to pick up those cards with these gloves on. And I'm thinking about how I could make this game a little bit easier for somebody with gloves, or in real life with maybe a dexterity disability, not able to move their fingers around. So I think your big cards are definitely something that would help out.
Yeah.
But then maybe a different texture, so it wouldn't be so slippery.
Yeah, the little rougher would make them easier, because they just slide right onto my hand.
Interesting. All right, well, I'm going to keep my gloves on, but I'm going to switch the hands this time. And I'm going to use my oven mitt on my right hand and the fingered glove on my left hand. And our second activity here is, I think, going to be even more challenging. Let me throw on my little overhead camera here. And this one is moving beans from one paper plate to the other using a fork. So our folks there in the comments, what do you think that this activity is supposed to simulate? I just did a card playing game, and now I've got to use a fork and move some things from one plate to the other. So we'll see if anybody can come up with this. But I'm going to use this fork here and try and move all these 10 tiny little beans from one plate to the other. You guys see them? Cool. Anthony, if anybody comments there, you go ahead and pop in.
Got it.
And Brian and Jack, can you guys time me to see how fast I can do this?
We can.
All right.
Let's see. And, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
Ooh, they're like jumping beans. They like to move around. There's one. Normally I would like to stab these, but they are not stabbable. There we go, there's 2. You really have to balance it on the edge of the tines, the fork points, and push it against the edge of the plate. It'd be hard if it was in the middle of the plate. There we go, there's 4. Let's see if I can do 2 at once. There we go. 2.6. If I had to do this in my left hand, it would be really, really hard. Oh, there's one. 3 more to go.
All right. We're 55 seconds.
And 10.
Ooh, you did under a minute. 59.95 seconds.
Ooh, wow, that was cutting it close there. Wow.
You made it.
So 60 seconds to move 10 beans from one plate to the other. I would imagine I could do it faster without these gloves, but that's not the point here. So what do you guys think that was supposed to simulate? Can you guys guess?
I think small motor skills, fine motor skills.
Yeah, definitely fine motor skills and operating like a tool, like the fork here. And this is something that we have to do every day, right? Like this is kind of like eating food. You're picking food up with a fork, and you have to move it to somewhere else, like your mouth, or in this case, putting it on from like a bowl to your plate or something.
I would call that a forklift maneuver.
You are right. This is a forklift maneuver. Brian, you're so punny.
They just keep coming.
All right, that's our second gloved activity. And our third one is another something that we're going to have to do every day. And it's simply to tie our shoes. So let's see if I can point this down at my shoes here. What do you think I'm going to have the most trouble with here while I'm tying my shoes? Do you have any tips?
I think bending over is usually the hardest part for me.
Good point. All right, so if I can hold this this camera here, can you guys see that all right?
Yeah.
Put my gloves back on.
I think this is going to be a real challenge with that mitten.
I think you are right. It's going to be difficult to grab the small ropes there. All right. So I'm going to do my right shoe with my gloves on, and then I'm going to do the left shoe with my gloves off. And can you time me on both of those again?
I sure can.
All right. Here we go.
You ready? Go ahead.
Ready. Set. Go. Oh, yes, and particularly with this oven mitt, it is difficult to grab what I mean to. I keep grabbing the wrong thing. So I've got it pulled tight now. And, you know, I can do this without thinking normally, but now that I'm slowing myself down, I have to actually think about where each of the ends of this rope goes. Okay, so I got it tied, which is the overhand knot. And now for the bunny ears.
You should use a shoelace. It would work better than a rope.
The shoelace does make more sense.
Do you know what those little things on the end are called? They have a name.
I don't. What are they called? Do you know?
Eaglets? Eglets? Huh? Eglets.
Oh, a little bit of trivia for you.
Igloos. I knew it was something like that.
Getting the shoelaces around one another is quite difficult.
You did better with the beans, I think.
I think you're right. Oh, there we go. And pulled almost tight. Done.
Oh, 1 minute and 3 seconds.
Ah, yes. So about the same time as the bean maneuver. And let's see how fast it would go normally without my gloves on here. All right, ready?
Ready? Go.
Set, go. So around, pull tight, make my wolf ear, wrap around, second wolf ear, pull through, and done.
9 seconds and 9.55 seconds.
Oh, wow, it's just about 10 seconds.
Yep.
And let's bring it back. So I'll tell you a little bit of what I learned, and then maybe we can brainstorm some ways that maybe shoe tying could be a little bit more accessible for people without that mindfold control. So as I mentioned, it was very difficult to hold onto the ends of the shoelaces just to begin with, just to grab what I wanted to grab. And then the second difficulty was trying to wrap one around the other. So I could kind of make my wolf ear with my left hand here, and I could hold it, but then my hand was in the way of trying to wrap the shoelace around it to make the wolf ears and pull through. So what are some ways that we could think of, or maybe that already exist, that would make shoe tying a little bit more accessible?
I would go with Velcro myself.
Yeah, I had a Velcro pair of shoes not that long ago. But that would definitely make it easier. But why would it make it easier?
All you'd have to do is flip the little Velcro over and rip it off. It still might be kind of hard with the mitten, though, trying to grab that. But I think it would be a lot faster than a minute.
I think you're right. There are less steps to it, for one. And then two, I think that the tabs with the Velcro would be a little bit bigger, a little bit meatier. There's more there to hold on to, so I could grab it a little bit easier. Cool. Do you guys have any Velcro shoes?
No, Jack wears those cool Crocs, though.
Oh, Crocs are another way to be more accessible. There's no steps there. You just gotta step into it.
And they come in great colors too, like our Camp Master, right?
Yeah, you're right. Do we have any comments from our Facebook crew?
No big comments. We do have one from Jeannie that, when you were using the gloves, it shows me that sometimes we face challenges that we can't, but we have to keep trying. So Jarrod, especially with those beans, you kept the beans kept trying to keep getting away from you, and you kept going, and you ended up getting all those beans across. So absolutely great comment.
The other thing I'm thinking about
is he was experimenting too. He was experimenting. Can I get two over? Do I have to get it in the side? Can I get it in the middle? So you try different things before you find something that works for you.
Jarrod's definitely one of those type of guys that love a challenge. So
do love a challenge. The thing I was thinking about is how many different everyday activities that I would take for granted that may be really difficult for somebody else, like just tying my shoes or eating food from day to day. Those are things that I don't even have to think about, but for somebody that may have fine motor issues, that could be like a big barrier to their everyday tasks.
Yeah, or even if you had like your toothbrush or a fork and had maybe a roll of quarters with it or some sort of weight on it and try to pick it up and brush your teeth with it, makes it really difficult.
Oh yeah, I bet. So thinking about the different ways that we can make activities more accessible, not to just people with motor disabilities, but that would make things easier for everybody, like Velcro. It's not just easier for some people, it's easier for everybody.
Yeah, just like ramps. Everybody can walk up a ramp, but wheelchairs can't go upstairs.
It's very true. So think about that in the way that we design buildings and that we make new projects and things. I think that's awesome. It's also a good reminder that we should have, patience and show courtesy and respect for people who may have difficulties with certain tasks. It's not because they want it to be difficult, it just is.
Exactly.
We've talked a lot about adapting everyday tasks, but what about for entertainment? How about adaptive sports?
I'll let Jack talk about that, because Jack certainly likes to play sports.
Well,
Jack, I think... Sorry, go ahead.
First, I don't think everybody can see. You might not know that Jack is actually in a wheelchair. Whoops. I think I killed the... There we go.
There you are.
We're back. So I don't know. You really couldn't tell Jack is actually in a wheelchair. So I'll let Jack tell you about what he does to play sports.
Yeah, I've played multiple sports like football, soccer, baseball. During the summer, I'm in a baseball league.
Oh, cool.
And we play games every Sunday. It's usually pretty hot, but yeah, we play games, and there's people with a bunch of different types of disabilities. It's not just people in wheelchairs that play. It's called Challenger Baseball, and they have them all around the world, and like a bunch of states have them. They have a state tournament every year, so that's pretty cool. We get to go to see a different part of Ohio, play baseball there, so that's cool. And then I played power soccer too, which is really fun. They put a guard on the front of my wheelchair, so it's basically like normal soccer, but everyone is in a wheelchair, and they use the guards and pass the ball and stuff like that. I also played football for a season. That was interesting. Yeah. So
I think we have a video too to show a little bit of what Jack does.
Yeah, let's show that here so we can all see Jack in motion doing these sports and see how they're adapted. So, folks that are following along, if you can kind of put some comments in there as you see them about how the sports are adapted to help more people to be able to play them. Let me bring that video up here and make sure you can all hear it. And we'll share, if you haven't seen it already, in the comments or in the description, the full link to this video. We're going to show part of it here today. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
All right.
This is actually Jack playing in a marching band. He was in a simple marching band, and he would play at halftime and parades, and he would march and do all the stuff on the field with everyone else. So when you get the link, you can watch the video and see all the cool stuff Jack has been doing.
That would be cool. I was in a marching band myself. All right, here we go.
I like to play sports like baseball and soccer. I have a special guard on my wheelchair to play power soccer. It's competitive, and I have played in tournaments in Columbus and Indiana. It's a lot of ball, but stopped because they made me slow my chair down. I have had the great pleasure of meeting Coach Otterbein, the football team, and they let me join them for the coin toss.
Video kind of stopped though.
At the beginning of the game, which was very
power
cool.
Soccer.
Here are a couple of videos to explain how I play power soccer and what fun Challenger Baseball is in the summer.
The audio and video are kind of out of sync.
Oh, I see. Well, that's the guard you were talking about?
Yeah, they
New type of soccer has its competitors kicking it from a different angle. It's called.
Pause it there. That was the guard that you were talking about there, Jack?
Yeah, they have metal ones or plastic ones. Really depends on like what chair you have, and like because you can really play with any chair. They control the speed, so you can only go a certain speed. They do a test before, and then they test one player randomly just at the end to make sure that they like didn't do anything with their speed. But yeah, they test the speed. I think it's like 6 miles an hour you can go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's actually faster than I would have expected. That's pretty cool.
And they have teams everywhere. There's a World Cup game at different places. I think like the last one was in like Japan or something. So
it's pretty cool. So can I ask a couple more questions about how you played the soccer and the football? I think I'm most interested in there. So you said there's obviously passing from person to person, and how would you was the goalie would have any special attachment for their wheelchair, or would everybody have the same thing?
No, there's certain rules like about how many people. There's a box around the goalie, and so there's certain rule like you can only have 2 people from the same team if they're defending, and then if you're on offense, there can be like 3. It depends on how many people and which side you're on. But there's one goalie, there's 4 players on each team. One goalie and the 3. There's a center, and then a left and right. Mm-hmm. And then there's this thing called a 2-on-1 rule that they call all the time. You can only have 2 people. I mean, one person on the ball at once. So that's usually like one of the tougher, one of the more. It happens frequently.
Everybody wants to go to the ball, and you can only have one person, so they get called for that a lot.
Interesting.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah.
Luke wants to know: do you play soccer on the grass?
It's on a gym floor or a floor like that. But I mean, if there's like turf, it's hard on the grass because of like it's usually uneven, and the ball is it's an oversized ball that's used to play.
Yeah, we found that when Jack was in marching band and the field was real dirt and there was a lot of holes and ruts in it, it was very difficult for him to get around. But if it were turf, it was easy because it was flat and it wasn't wet. But grass, and if you watch that video, you'll see Jack got stuck in Beaumont quite a few times.
And was the football on turf then?
That was on a it was on a
in the parking lot.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah.
They made Jack slow his wheelchair down, so he wasn't too happy about that.
You're too fast there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really cool. And if you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the comments there. And definitely encourage you to watch the rest of that video to see other ways that Jack's been able to participate alongside friends and scouting and band and different sports and all that. And then my last question out to our comment or Facebook people there is, is for these sports, do you have to be in a wheelchair full time to participate in it? And I think that the kind of obvious answer is no. Anybody could sit in a wheelchair and participate along with these adaptive sports.
It takes a lot of practice though to learn how to steer it and not run into something that you don't want to.
I can imagine for sure. And I bet there are a lot of sports out there that were designed specifically for people in wheelchairs. So can you think of any of those off the top of your head?
There's, I think, like rugby and basketball and stuff like that. It like depends on the type of sport, I guess, but some of them are like manual wheelchairs, some are power, some are either or.
There's also a dance troupe in Cleveland. I think there might be one in Akron too called Dancing Wheels. Mm-hmm. And they do performances, dances and performances on stage in wheelchairs.
Very cool.
So that's kind of sporty.
Yeah.
Hey, Jarrod.
Yeah.
I got another question for Jack. Jack, when you played football, was it like a flag football or what did you guys play?
It was kind of there were people like the coaches and they would be in a wheelchair and would like throw the ball and like hit, like if they hit your wheelchair, then you could like you pretend that you had the ball, or we would like pass the ball to each other, stuff like that. It was their first time doing it, so we were trying to like work out the
kinks.
I guess, yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jack.
Sure.
Interesting. All right, I'm going to switch over to our last activity here, and I've kind of got it started. The last activity that we're going to do is for requirement number 5, and that's to paint a picture in 2 different ways. So I've got my paints out here. I've got my paintbrush and a cup to kind of wash it off with, and a piece of paper towel to get it dried. And I've started to paint a picture I have in my head from a walk I went on yesterday with my dog. And I'm going to paint it here just the way I kind of normally would, which is to say not very well because I'm not that talented of an artist. So this is going to be the 2 sides of my path here, kind of going through one of our local nature trails. And what do you think I can add to my picture here, Jack or Brian?
Well, if you had your dog, you must have seen a squirrel.
That's true. So I'm going to make the path red.
As all paths are, Jarrod.
As all paths are. And I did see some squirrels, so let me see if I can try and paint a small little squirrel up here with his head and his little front paws, and his feet, and his big bushy tail.
You know, Jarrod, when I was out doing Scout Strong today, I saw a black squirrel. Never seen a blue one.
It's a kind that's very native to walks with Finn.
It's like bat squirrel.
Bat squirrel. All right, and I will finish my painting by mixing two colors together, my blue and my red, to make a purple. And I'm going to put some rain in here because it was a little bit rainy. All right, so there's my masterpiece. You guys can do this with paints. You can do it with markers at home, whatever you got. But then the next part to this activity is to simulate a visual impairment. So I've got my specialty neckerchief here, which is from the time that Jack, Brian, and I actually met each other on our wood badge course. We were all part of the Bob White Patrol. And I should have gotten this ready before I put this. I'm going to take a new piece of paper here. I'm going to try and paint the same picture, but being unable to see it.
I saw you at the grocery store the other day.
Yes, a neckerchief and these trying times can make a good makeshift face cover. All right, well, it is very difficult to figure out what's going on here, but I can tell that I have my paper in front of me. I can feel my paper plate of paints. I don't know if I can find my paint, though. But that feels a little bit slippery, so I'm going to guess that is where my red paint is. Are you guys able to direct me at all?
We can. I would suggest putting a lot of newspaper around, because if you miss the paper, you're going to be in trouble. Ooh.
That's true. I have a newspaper here, so we're just going to risk it. All right, so here is, I think, the green I started with.
That's pretty good. You're still on the paper.
Oh, good.
That's green.
See if I can go back for some more. I think that's where the green was. Hopefully this is still the paper. We'll do the other side of the paper here. Thank you.
Either you'll hear us tell you or your wife will yell. One of the two.
That's so true. All right. Well, if the green was up here, then I think the red is kind of more down at the bottom of the paper. I really have to remember where things are located. Oh, that feels like paint. All right. Now I have to more or less guess where the middle of this paper is. I'm going to put my red streak right here. All right, let's try for that little squirrel, huh?
This is going to be a challenge, I think.
It is. I don't know if I can find the blue. Well, here's some paint. I don't know if it's the right color, but we'll go with that.
This poor squirrel, Jarrod.
All right. Where's the top of my paper?
Yeah, you're still on the paper there.
Excellent. So I got a little head, and his body comes down like this. It's got a foot and a big bushy tail.
I'm glad you told us what that was.
I love that squirrels fly, Jarrod.
They do fly. Flying squirrels. All right, somehow I have to mix these two colors together, so I'm going to do big broad strokes here. See if I can get some purple. And we'll end my painting with what I hope are purple streaks of rain.
Purple rain.
All right. Oh, let me put my paintbrush back into the water.
Oh, that was a dangerous maneuver right there.
And I find my paper towel over here, dry it off, and ready for the reveal. Hey, I did make purple. That's exciting. Well, you are right. If I didn't know beforehand what the blue streak was, I would not have been able to guess that was a squirrel now.
It looks like a butterfly almost, or a hot dog with wings.
Yeah, you're right. It's a different kind of artwork. The things I noticed in that were definitely having to remember where things were, and that was difficult even though I had just seen it moments before. I can imagine going through your day or life not really knowing where things are and having to remember it all would be a huge challenge. That's why
Jarrod,
things like Braille would be super important, which we also learned in our Tiger Den meeting a couple weeks ago. Go ahead, Anthony.
others also believe that your squirrel looks like a butterfly.
Well, thank you all. I think I'm going to frame it. All right. Well, that was our last activity. We would love to see what you guys can create at home, following along with these instructions. Painting your first picture and then doing the second one blindfolded, and see what kind of image you can come up with. So if you can do that and take pictures of it and put it in the comments of the video, we'd love to see how you participate alongside of us. Well, I think that pretty much brings our Den meeting to a close today. I want to thank all of you at home for following along and participating with us. And particularly, thank you, Jack, and thank you, Brian, for being part of our Den meeting today and for sharing your experiences. So thank you for being here.
Sure, it was fun. I haven't been to a wolf meeting in quite a while.
Well, you're a natural, and you've got the right hat for it. If you guys have any questions more for myself or Jack or Brian, you can put them in the comments, and we'll try and keep an eye on it over the next day or so. If you didn't get to follow along with us live here today, this video will be available on our Facebook page and on YouTube and our website here soon. And we hope that you are staying safe and staying healthy while you're scouting from home. And make sure you check out what's coming up later this week in our Cub Scout series. We have different Den meetings for different levels of Cub Scouts throughout the rest of the week, and live streams for everybody once a day as well. Our next one is about the Edge method for Tenderfoot Scouts coming up real soon. So thanks again for being here today, and I hope you stay safe and stay home and stay healthy. Bye, everybody.
Bye.